It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Rwanda Climate Science Symposium, the first ever organized of this kind. This symposium, as you may know, as you understand, put together different stakeholders from climate science professionals, early career scientists, including students, but also policy makers and private sector. I would like really to see if there's someone from private sector that attended, but not now. So the symposium put together all these different stakeholders for a discussion, to discuss climate science, to have a different perspective and ensure that policy making is well. Yeah, so this is to first and foremost thank the key organizers, the stakeholders who had this idea of putting together different stakeholders, and most importantly, for collaboratively materialize the event here present. So to start, I would like to take you through the agenda of the symposium to give you an idea of how it will be like. If our people behind there can help us project, but I have it in front of me anyway. So we are going to start with high-level opening. Then after, we will have keynote speeches. I'm very happy to see that the presenter have already arrived. So then, we will have a group photo that will only put together the key organizers here in front of us. Then after, we will have panel discussions to discuss climate science, networking, and policy advices. Then after, we will have lunch. In the afternoon, we will have parallel sessions. We will have research streams, A and B. The first one, discussing measurements and reduction of greenhouse gas emission. The second one, B, discussing observation and modeling of climate change. And before we end the day, there will be a presentation on funding and supporting research, climate research. That will be day one. Now, day two, of course, after recap for day one, we will have another keynote address discussing the importance of linking climate change action with biodiversity action. Then after break, we will again have parallel breakaway sessions, research stream A and B again, talking about the impact of climate change and risk assessment, and another one discussing adaptation and mitigation of climate change. After that session, we'll have another interesting session of presentation, poster presentation, because not everyone managed to have an oral presentation. So if I'm not mistaken, some posters have started to appear there behind. So then after lunch, it will be a networking session for promoting climate science. Of course, networking will keep going on again and again in our free sessions, but this is dedicated for networking again. Then after a closing of event and a cocktail. which will have informal get-together. Yeah, in summary, this is how this two-day symposium will look like. So, because as you can see, we have started a bit late, so I don't want to have further delays. So then I would like to invite our head of cooperation from German Embassy, Mrs. Sylvia here, to make her opening remarks.
Thank you so much. I will try to keep it short and not delay us too much. Distinguished DG Tade, distinguished DG Aimable, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, and all of you joining us virtually, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a great honor to support this event as part of Germany's commitment to tackling the global climate crisis through international cooperation. Climate change knows no borders. You all know that better than me. And neither should our solutions. This is why Germany's new government remains deeply engaged in both climate mitigation and adaptation efforts around the world. As one of the largest donors to international climate finance, Germany supports countries in reducing emissions, transitioning to renewable energy, and building resilience to climate impacts. Rwanda is a pioneer in ambitious climate and development policy. By updating its NDC under the Paris Climate Agreement and implementing sustainable environmental strategies, Rwanda is demonstrating how resolutely and forward-looking a country can respond to the challenges of climate change. Against this background, Germany and Rwanda have established a strong climate partnership to support Rwanda's bold climate goals through joint initiatives in mitigation, adaptation, and sustainable development. Our cooperation is not just about funding. It is about trust, transparency, and shared responsibility in the face of a global challenge. An important foundation of the German-Rwandan partnership is our joint commitment to evidence-based climate policy. This is why Germany and Rwanda signed a joint declaration of intent in 2022 at the UN Climate Change Conference, COP28, to strengthen our joint climate research. This strong signal of the spirit of international cooperation is also enshrined in the Kigali Declaration of the World Climate Research Programme, which was drafted here in Kigali at the end of 2023. To achieve Rwanda's ambitious goals, a solid scientific foundation is needed, based on evidence-based policymaking and a close link between research and practice. The networking of Rwandan research institutions and scientists is of crucial importance in this regard. And if you'll just let me go off book for a second and add something, I used to work in the climate partnership division before I came here. And I can tell you firsthand that if you don't start a climate partnership with the right data, you go off on wrong tracks and it becomes incredibly expensive and difficult to solve it after. So what you're doing, networking, coming together here, exchanging on data, it is so crucial to address these issues and to support this work that we're all doing together. So this event is a powerful sign that science, politics, and society are tackling the challenges of climate change together. This makes it an important milestone for a Rwandan-German partnership, as well as for cooperation in climate research and climate science. The organizers told me that there were 3 times as many registrations for the symposium as there are places, and that a large number of junior and senior scientists are involved through active contributions. This underlines the great need for exchange felt in the scientific community. This symposium offers a first-time platform to bundle and exchange existing knowledge, to use synergies, and to network. It's impressive to see how numerous institutions, from ministries and universities to think tanks and civil society organizations, want to participate in this exchange. I wish you all inspiring discussions, fruitful exchanges, and new perspective that strengthen our collective response to the challenges we face. May this gathering be a catalyst for meaningful collaboration, innovative ideas, and long-lasting partnerships.
Thank you very much. Then I'm happy to invite DG Tade from Ministry of Environment to make his own opening remarks and officially open this symposium.
Good morning. Apologies, PS is not available because she has other conflicting assignments. So that's why I'm here to represent her and even to continue this session for 2 days together here in the room. Head of Operation from German Embassy, development partners here represented, esteemed researchers, scientists, academia, dear students, dear friends joining us online. I don't know if you just opened that. Dear friends of our country and even a friend of ours as environment, climate change sector. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning once again. It's both a great honor and a distinct privilege for me on behalf of Ministry of Environment at the same time on behalf of Permanent Secretary to warmly welcome you to the inaugural first symposium of climate science and networking in Rwanda. This symposium arrives at a critical occasion. The global community remains deeply engaged in addressing the complex and far-reaching impacts of climate change affecting our soils, landscapes, and biodiversity, and disrupting the ecosystems that sustain us all. We are pleased to host this gathering of esteemed scholars, experts, researchers, and even practitioners united by shared commitment to advancing climate science and fostering effective collaboration. Together, we can forge innovative solutions to our shared challenges and pave the way for Rwanda's sustainable and resilient future and even beyond. Rwanda has set ambitious vision to become a carbon neutral and climate resilient economy by 2050. But this strategic ambition is not an abstract. It requires grounded action informed by the best available science and driven by collaborative research and policy innovation. This is why we are here. The theme of this symposium, Advancing Research and Networking, reflects an understanding that no single institution, discipline, and even sector can address climate change alone. That's why we need collaborative efforts. The challenges are complex, spanning disciplines from agriculture and forestry to public health, engineering, and social sciences. They demand evidence-based responses informed by rigorous research and sustained dialogue between scientists and decision makers. Rwanda is not starting from scratch. We take pride in the strides made within the scientific community, spanning our universities and research centers to civil society and private sector actors engaged in action research. Our country hosts centers of excellence that participate in international science collaborations, and nurtures a new generation of Rwandan scientists eager to contribute solutions. However, as strong as these individual efforts are, we must ask, are we truly connected? Are we maximizing the synergies, knowledge, and the momentum across institutions and disciplines? The honest answer is not yet. That's why symposium is both timely and strategic. From today till tomorrow, we aim to advance 3 interconnected objectives. Number 1, to strengthen the network of researchers in Rwanda working on climate change and related fields, fostering a more cohesive, accessible, and dynamic scientific community. Number 2, to provide a platform for sharing research findings highlighting the breadth and depth of scientific work being done in and for Rwanda across all key climate sectors. The last but not least objective is to bring together scientists and stakeholders from outside academia, ensuring that policy makers, funders, practitioners are aware of scientific progress and actively engaged within it. Let us be clear. The success of Rwanda's climate agenda depends on closing the gap between knowledge and action. This means translating data into decisions, turning models into strategies, and bringing research into the surface for our people and ecosystems. The structure of this symposium reflects that vision. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kigali Declaration of the World Climate Research Program calls for greater regional engagement and for climate science to serve the needs for vulnerable nations and communities. This symposium embodies that spirit. It is a call to consolidate and elevate the climate science ecosystem here in Rwanda. Let me conclude by expressing deep appreciation to the researchers who devote their intellectual and energy to understanding our changing climate, to the students whose curiosity and commitment are the lifeblood of future innovation, to the policymakers gathered here, whose leadership and support are vital, and to our partners, whose collaboration strengthens our collective resilience. As we embark on this symposium, I invite you all, whether you represent academia, government, civil society, private sector, to approach this dialogue with openness, ambition, and purpose. Let us commit to transforming knowledge into impact and networks into action. Thank you very much.
A big thanks to our guest of honors for the encouraging words for the symposium. So indeed, decision making without data can go in all corners. It can even be dangerous. So that's why we are here. So you may be wondering why we are here exactly. And that's why I want to invite Pascal to take us through the objective of this symposium and maybe the intended output. Please welcome Pascal.
Thank you, Philbert. I'm expecting a presentation. Yes, thank you. Distinguished Director General of the Ministry of Environment, Tadej, distinguished Head of Cooperation from the German Embassy, Silvia, good morning. Distinguished Director Generals, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen, also dear students, and to all those who join us online. It's an honor and pleasure for me to stand here before you today and to address a few introduction words about the symposium. Just as Philbert just said, you might wonder, why is this happening and who's organizing it? I mean, you've seen the logos, but I want to give you some background of the symposium and also a short look out into the history. I was chosen by members of the group that came up with the idea to develop this symposium and also a network. So I'm delighted to speak on behalf of that group that I will shortly also present to you. And I'm happy to have the opportunity to give you some backgrounds of this symposium. First slide, please. Yes. Through the Paris Agreement from 2015, which I guess most of you know, all countries are called upon to use climate science to address climate change, but also to use the best available science. This is a citation which is like a red field which goes through the Paris Agreement document, the best available science. And this also has to be reflected in the National Climate Action Plans, or NDCs, within the framework of the Paris Agreement. And many of you may know, of course, also in the new NDCs, which are currently developed, also here in Rwanda, the so-called NDC 3.0. So also for this document, for this process, best available science shall be used. Certainly, another reference is a highlight from the climate science perspective. It was just mentioned by D. The WCRP's Open Science Conference, which took place here in Kigali in October 23. And from which this Kigali Declaration emerged. And it was emphasized once again in the Kigali Declaration that climate science should not be a self-occupation of a scientific enthusiast or community, but serve the purpose of a sustainable future for everyone, or for all, as it is called in the original text. And I also refer to the national context once again. Advancing research and networking, the motto of our conference today and tomorrow, is also a contribution to achieving Vision 25. Using and providing knowledge, research and development are building blocks for Vision 2050. And with this event, we can contribute from a climate perspective to this Vision 2050. These brief explanations are showing the global scientific and also the national relevance of that symposium and initiative. Next, yeah. You can see the many logos of several organizations that are involved in this event, in organizing it. A public institution, first of all, the Ministry of Environment and other public authorities, like REMA, Rwanda Space Agency, National Council for Science and Technology, and also Rwanda Meteorology Agency, but also public and private research institutions like, of course, University of Rwanda, but also Academia 2063 and AIMS. And within UR also I want to mention especially the Center of Excellence for Biodiversity and Natural Resource Management. And also I'm representing GIZ in this context. May I ask my colleagues who have all organized to quickly stand up so that we can visualize the group, like Bess and Vidas and all of you who were supporting actively. Thank you, thank you. So what they all have in common is that they have an interest in improving climate research landscape, and essential point is networking of actors and the exchange of knowledge, of course. At the beginning, however, there was the question, who's actually conducting research related to climate change here in Rwanda? Do we know who are the experts? Do we know where are the data? Do we know where are the research gaps? And at the end of the day, that's more than you think, both the gaps, but also the resources that are here. And so the question is, how can we capitalize on existing knowledge and how we can sustain such an initiative as today? And I would like to give you the example of the agricultural sector, which in the current NDC, but also in the future one, is placed both under mitigation action, but also adaptation action. There are at least 11 institutions in Rwanda that do research on agriculture related to climate change. And the question is, are they networking? Are they exchanging systematically on the challenges of climate change within the agricultural sector? And if you only take these 11s, there might be even more. And then you also have all the different research institutions that are not labeled agriculture. I could take the example of the African Leadership University, who are big in machine learning and artificial agency. For them, it's quite not so important if it's agricultural data or other data, but they can use the data and also contribute to, let's say, the scientific development of the agricultural sector by using these tools. And then we have data providers, which are not necessarily based in Rwanda, who also play a part in, let's say, a research network or exchanging. And then we also have, of course, players and stakeholders who are not based in Rwanda, but either in the region or globally. And if you look at the literature which exists, you will find many, many publications from people or institutions that have nothing to do with Rwanda, except that they use the country as a case. So you have a complex, I would say, a cosmos of research only for the agricultural sector. And the challenge will be to valorize on this and to make profit on this and to systemize networking for this sector, for example. But there are many, many other sectors within the NDCs. There's energy, there's land and forestry and so on. And the situation is basically the same, maybe with an exception that in the agricultural sector you find the most research institutions here in Rwanda, which is not a wonder given the importance of the sector. Next slide. Yeah, some background. I've given this example in order to show you that there are many treasures to be discovered and synergies to be developed and leveraged. And the very important thing is, I think I've mentioned it already, transparency. So who is doing research on what, and who has skills, who has data, who has methodological knowledge, who has research funds, etc. And here we also approach the design of the symposium because we have like 3 different goals, if you want, sharing knowledge. So there are different sessions. Therefore, we have the dedicated session of the keynotes, which will follow after me, 4 different research streams where concluded, ongoing, or even planned research is going to be presented in a, let's say, a scientific way. And please keep in mind that this is only a fraction of the actual research that exists in Rwanda. Of course, we could not accept all the presentations, and so there will be many, many more, and I think this is also an opportunity to think about the future of this event. It's also about to get to know each other, take the opportunity to meet new partners. This is an invitation. We're also sharing these profiles, and you can then fill them out, pin them on the wall, and then you can also discover who is doing research or planning research on different sectors of the NDCs or cross-cutting themes. And a special concern is certainly the question of how we can consolidate networking and exchange beyond these 2 days. For this purpose, we have planned a longer session tomorrow afternoon, to which we organizers, of course, cordially invite you to actively participate. So it won't be a presentation, it will be a very interactive session with you to discuss and also to articulate your needs and also your contribution to a potential network. And before I conclude with my short introduction, next slide, because this was shown by Philbert already. And another one again, yeah. As I'm a friend of data and evidence, I would like to highlight the number of 450. You might wonder what this means. So this is the number of registration we have received for this symposium. We only have 150 seats, so we had to turn down about 300 people. I hope most of them, all of them, are joining online, but this shows also the great reception we had for this symposium, and that there is apparently a big need to exchange. And I also would like to give a special thanks to our friends and partners from Academia 2063, who set up very easily this website for the registration, for the program and everything. And even yesterday evening at 11 p.m. I reached out to one of the colleagues, and they still updated the website. So a big shout out to Academia 2063 for this great contribution. And with this, I would like to conclude, hand over to Philbert. I'm very curious also to have the first keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what, why, and how we are here. And we have come to the first session of opening remarks. We are going straight to business. Because my colleague is going to moderate it, I would like to make some few notes that this symposium is going to be in English. Also, it was mentioned here and there, we have virtual participation, and if I'm not mistaken, some of the presenters will be online. We should expect that. Also, there are some people who came before the badges are available. I'm not asking you to go right now, but in your break, just feel free to go and pick yours. And that's why I didn't even say my name, because it's written here. Okay, now I would like to invite my colleague, Alice, to come and now help moderate the next session, which is about keynote speeches. So, Alice, please.
Thank you, Philbert. Good morning to you all. This is the second session of our business today, and we are going to enter in the business where we are going to talk about the data, the relevance of data and decision making, where we are going to hear different speakers and different scientists that will represent and engage and clearly network the scientists that are here gathering. Without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker. He is Dr. Muhammadu Bambasila from African Institute of Mathematical Sciences Research in Innovation Center, who is going to present to the audience the climate science and the climate change, Rwandan, Africa, and the global perspectives. I think through the presentation, we get to know how the relevance of data and the scientific data across the Africa can help different intervention without, of course, without also compromising the different strategies and the plans that we have. As it has been presented, Rwanda also has the clear goals toward climate actions. I would kindly a round of applause while welcoming Dr. Muhammadu. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Muhammad Bambasila, so I'm the AIMS Network Research Chair in Climate Change Science, but I got the opportunity to contribute to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC Assessment Report 6, where I was a lead author and a contributing author in other chapters, wherever it is relevant for Africa. So I also got a chance to co-lead the annual State of Climate in Africa report that WMO releases every year. And then we launched it yesterday, so the report is online. So you see then results from IPCC, you will see results from our own work, and then you will see probably some information about this WMO State of Climate in Africa 2024 report. Next. Yeah, so first of all, when we do this kind of presentation, it's very important to look at what is happening in the world we are living in. And the first thing we're interested in is global temperature. So what we see in the left graph that the last time we were having around 1 degree Celsius was some thousands of years ago. In the last 2,000 years, we actually have 1.1 degrees Celsius on 2020 of warming compared to pre-industrial period. And then we attribute this to, of course, human activities, because the graph in the right just says, if you use climate models and then we feed the climate models with natural forcings, we don't fit the graph of observed temperature anomalies. But then when we put human activities, human influence, we definitely fit this graph, which means human influence is actually responsible for the warming we are experiencing around. And this warming is unprecedented in the last 2,000 years. Next. And where does it come from? Like I said, it's human activities. We've been emitting a lot of greenhouse gases, and this is time series of most important greenhouse gases in terms of amount in the atmosphere, where we have carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane. And then we can see oscillations in the last 100,000 years, and then now we are peaking a very steep peak. When we zoom in the last 2,000 years, you can see the peak is even more marked. Next. And when we use direct measurements in recent years from 1960 to 2020, we can see the increasing tendency. And this is, of course, we are responsible for it. We are responsible for this global warming then. Next. And then, of course, people can still say your measurements of temperature is not good, are not good, your temperature are biased, the way you do the time series is not good. But then we come into another indicator, which is ice, all right? So we don't need to have any physical background to know that when it's warm, when the temperature increases, ice melt, okay? So we have different type of ice on Earth. So we have ice sheets, we have sea ice, we have snow covers, we have ice caps, which are glaciers at the mountains. So all these type of ice, the characteristics says they are decreasing in terms of masses and coverage, which means ice is also melting globally. Next. We also have another indicator, which is sea level. So we can see in the last 100,000 years that sea level has been, and now when we zoom in the last 2,500 years, we can see definitely there is a peak over there. And in recent years, using different methodologies, different measurements from different publications, different studies that may not be interconnected, so we can see this increasing trend. And this is just due to the fact that when ocean water is warm, it will just expand. So this is thermal expansion of ocean water. But we also have the contribution of glaciers coming from the continent melting and making it to the sea to increase the sea level, but to a lower extent. So the main important factor for the sea level is the thermal expansion. And then we can see the rate is unprecedented in the last 3 millennia. Next. Yeah, so that was some IPCC results, and our assessment stopped at 2020, so right now at 2024. So like I said, we released the State of Climate in Africa report yesterday. And one of the things which was really shocking is 2004 is the warmest year in record, all right? So when you see the graph, this is pointing over there with more than 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming compared to pre-industrial period, right? So this is the kind of world we're living in. And what we have at the regional level, Okay, so in this same report in 2024 regionally, so Africa have also recorded its warmest or second warmest year. So why warmest and second warmest? Because we use multiple data sets, and one of the data sets says 2004 is second warmest, but the three data sets says 2004 is the warmest. When we convey this message, we don't have to leave any information apart, so we say the warmest or the second warmest year, right? And then when we do regional average, we have 0.86 degrees Celsius of warming, not compared to pre-industrial period, but compared to the WMO reference period, which is 1991-2020. And then we have, back to IPCC results, and then we have now all these impacts on extreme events. The first thing we look at is extreme heat, and this is from 1950 to 2021. So the trend, you see everywhere, red, which means we have extreme heat increasing, most in Africa, because this is Africa. Oops, we have to go back. This is Africa, okay. Eastern Africa, North and South, Southern Africa, West and East, and Madagascar. So this is how we compiled the information regionally in the last IPCC report. And then in most Africa, you can see two dots, which means the information we provide here are medium confidence. So they are not high confidence because we don't have all the publications that agree. They are not low confidence because we don't have many disagreements. So we put it in medium confidence, right? So everywhere extreme heat is increasing in terms of frequency, intensity, areal extent, and all of those characteristics, except in Central Africa where we don't have enough literature, enough data. And then when it comes to heavy rainfall, the report says only Southern Africa is experiencing increases in heavy precipitation. It is in low confidence, which we know because we are in the ground, we are in the field, which we know is not true. So this means all this data that have been collected by our Met services and other partner organizations, if data sets are translated into scientific publications, it will not make it to the IPCC. And this is the kind of graph we will have then everywhere gray that says we don't have information, we don't have enough information. All right, so then this is the reason why we need to actually fill all these gaps. We need to do scientific publication if you want to have information making it to global assessment. Next. And then the drought, also you have many gray polygons here. And then because it says drought is increasing only in West Africa and Central Africa, and in Southern Africa, other regions like Northern and Africa, Northeastern Africa, Southeastern Africa does not experience any increases of drought from 1950 to 2020, which is not the case because we know East Africa have been experiencing drought. We know Madagascar, they have been dying of drought. So we still stress the needs to actually take these data sets and write scientific publications. Go ahead. Yeah, so EMS have been trying to actually fill some of these gaps, and then we have heat wave in the left panels in recent years, and then we can see that the difference between the two, some of the two periods we take saying heat wave is increasing almost everywhere in frequency. This is the heat wave number, but this is something for the frequency and the intensity. So if you look at drought severity as well, using a number of data sets, use 3 data sets for drought, and then say in the 80s and the 70s, we have drought severity, drought hotspots that are in the Sahel, and then in recent years, they move to Central Africa and then to South Africa. So that's what we actually found. And then for you who are curious to see, because this was up to 2017 or 2021, for you who are curious to see what the WMO State of Climate in Africa 2024 report says, and this is what it says about the extreme events we have been experiencing. We have heat wave almost everywhere, flooding in Central Africa, some landslides in Ethiopia, tropical cyclone storms, drought in Southern Africa. And these are key information. So, so I was so disappointed that I didn't see anything about Rwanda. So I was a lead author for the report, and we launched it yesterday. I was a co-author. And then, yeah, we were kind of disappointed. Yeah, but then it's very important to see what's going on in the country we're living in, right? And then we go at national information, where we have mean precipitation here for 2 time period, 1985, 2004, 2005, 2024. And then the difference is 2 time period, the most recent minus 1985, 2004. So then basically what it says, we have increases in eastern Rwanda in terms of rainfall, but the increases, remember the eastern Rwanda doesn't receive much rainfall, so the increases can reach like 60% and 100%. Where we have decreases in western Rwanda, but like I said, that region receive a lot of rainfall, so which means the decreases doesn't really say eastern Rwanda is receiving more rainfall than western Rwanda, right? And then we look at mean temperature, very basic. And we have a general warming. And then we have this warming, which is in Rwanda region. Please, next. Yeah, so extreme precipitation now. So this extreme precipitation are the kind of event that bring floodings and landslides in the country. So when we look, and then we look at the intensity, which are the lower panels. So what we have here is like more intense precipitation. 2005, 2024. All right, and then Eastern Rwanda received more extreme precipitation events, but with the northern province having some increases in terms of and frequency, and that's a big deal for that region because usually it receives a lot of rainfall. So if the extreme rainfall increases over there, it means we have probably landslides, floodings that will be great. And then we have looked at drought frequency, intense severity, and then durations. And then what it says is in the first period, 85 to 2004, we have drought hitting the whole country, but then the most severe drought are in the eastern Rwanda. And then we still have drought hitting the whole country in 2005, 2024, but then the most severe drought have shifted to the western country. Yeah. Next. And then heat wave. So this is a big deal now. So we have heat wave frequency, heat wave intensity, heat wave amplitude, heat wave duration. So this is like this. So frequency, intensity, amplitude, and durations. And what you see is in the first period, all these characteristics of heat waves have very small values, okay? Which means it's not frequent, it's not intense, it's not longer, it doesn't have large amplitudes, okay? But then when you come to 2005, 2024, so you can even see the color have becoming darker, which means we have substantial increases of heat waves in Rwanda. And when we do the difference between the 2 time period, you can see everywhere is red, which means heat wave is actually occurring in the country in recent decades. And it's very substantial in terms of all characteristics. Longer, larger amplitude, more, right? Go ahead. So, in conclusion, so I have a summary of everything I have said here, all right? And then, yeah, so something that needs to be done for the country of major flood, drought, heat wave event and then attribute this to climate change or natural availability, at least to see what would be the part, the share of climate change in this event. And if we didn't have climate change, will it happen? So that's very important. Some of the initial answers are yes, to some extent, right? So also we need an assessment of projected change using larger multimodal ensembles, okay? So we don't have that mostly comprehensively in the country. And then we need robust climate information. So what I mean by here, it means we need to go for full-scale climate risk assessment in the country to feed NDCs and to feed NAPs and to feed LTLEDs. Next. All right, so after having said all this, we still have some strategies that can be put in place so that we can face the impact of climate change. So climate governance needs to be strengthened, so which means we need to include climate risk into planning and policy. We have to scale up climate finance. We need to fund mitigations, adaptations, and disaster risk reductions. We need to expand climate smart agriculture, integrated water management. There are other things also that needs to be done, like finding some engineering, practicing on nature-based solutions to actually have protective measures for the labor forces of the country, because heat stress will decrease the productivity, but also to protect vulnerable communities. And all of this, we need to enhance early warning systems in terms of preparations, in terms of access to the information, and in terms of taking early actions. There may be other strategies that can be put in place. Oh, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohamedou. A very interesting presentation. It shows really how the situation and the climate data inform the decision making, and also it shows us the gap we have as Rwandan. It has been highlighted that different researches has been conducted on the climate with the consideration of different indicators. And this is a real-time symposium, the first one, because we know that Rwanda also has different centers of excellence, universities that are conducting different researches about climate change. But we needed a network like this so that we can share the findings from those researches, because it has been highlighted that Rwanda has not showcasing what is happening. And we have different evidences, even from what we see from the disaster we face. It means that climate change also reached Rwanda. We are not a part of the climate change, and the evidence are there. What we need is to have the gathering like this so that we can share and publish the researches, and also construct a strong network of what we have from different institutions, high-running institutions, center of excellence, different climate actors, so that you can really inform the decision or the ambition we have as a country. I would like to welcome the second speaker. He is our Deputy Dej Rema, Foste Munyazikwiye. He's going to present the climate change policy and science interaction in Rwanda. It means he's going to present the linkage, or how the interaction between the climate science and decision making. What I would like to add to the speaker is that he is also the focal point of ANCCC's national focal point. A round of applause while welcoming our speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. When I saw the agenda, I was requested to deliver a keynote speech. You bear with me, I don't have a presentation, but I will try to link the policy and science. How is it working here in Rwanda, especially as far as climate change is concerned? Dear Head of Cooperation from German Embassy, dear representative of Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, dear DG Meteo, Head of institutions here present, development partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today to discuss about the linkage between policy development and science, research and science. Here in Rwanda, to trace the link, I will use maybe three questions. How are we developing national policies which are informed, which are backed by data, which are backed by science? Then the second will be, how is the country responding to its international obligations through different conventions, including United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, but using the science? Last but not least, how can we improve? How can we use science better to inform decisions? Rwanda, like many other developing nations, is on forefront of climate change in both mitigation and adaptation. Rwanda is already experiencing the tangible impacts of climate change, with the scientific evidence showing a steady increase in temperature and shifting rainfall patterns over the past few decades, as Professor Bamba portrayed in the previous presentation. According to the Rwanda Meteorological Agency, average annual temperature have risen by approximately 1.4 degrees Celsius since 1970. So when we are developing policy, we need to have policy orientation, policy actions which are responding to the real issues we have. Then how do we assess and validate that this is the challenge, this is the issues which need a response? So it is through different research, different scientific assessments we conducted. So I was tracing this vulnerability to show you that when we are talking about policy development, it shouldn't be just from nowhere. It should be linked by the different evidence we have. So we have also seen its impact in the form of floods, drought, land degradation, and slide. Those effects threaten our development sectors, including agriculture, transport, infrastructure, human settlement, biodiversity, health, and others. And yet, as aforementioned, we are not passive victims. We are rather responding boldly and intelligently by ensuring that science informs our policy and actions. So one of the examples portraying how our national policies are backed by science, the government of Rwanda has developed the National Environment and Climate Change Policy of Rwanda, which provides a comprehensive framework to address pressing environmental and climate-related challenge, including pollution, be it land pollution, be it water pollution, land degradation, fossil fuel dependence, and inadequate waste management. But I remember before the government used to have the environment policy of 2004, and we revisited the policy due to the fact that in the first place, climate change was not mentioned anywhere in our policy. But how do we convince the leadership that we need to revisit our national environment and climate change policy to the level that we are going to have a new one? We need to have evidence. We need to have science-based evidence. For instance, when we were revisiting our national environment and climate change policy, the first, we had that issue that climate change is one of the key challenges we have when we are seeing the floods, landslides, and in different corners of the country. We said we need to have a response to this. We need to have contribution at national level, but also at international level on this, because it is transboundary in nature. But we were asking, are we going to have a standalone climate change policy and a standalone environment policy? So the response was, if they are interconnected, let's have a national environment and climate change policy. That's the choice of a country. You might find in other countries having a standalone climate change policy and a standalone environment policy. But looking at the landscape of this country, looking at the threats we have, looking at the size of the country, we said there's no need of duplicating and having so many policies, while we can combine and have interconnected one. That was the question number one. Question number two was, is it really evident that we have climate change? Is it real? Or you are just speaking here and there because it is on the news? Then that's how science intervened. That's how we conducted various scientific studies, including vulnerability assessment, including greenhouse gases inventory, and others, to show how vulnerable we are, to show what is our contribution in the root cause of the problem. So the policy was developed through a broad consultative process involving government, private sector, civil society, and development partners, all aligns with national, regional, and global commitment, such as Vision 2050, as Professor Bamba said, and also Pascal mentioned it, Vision 2050, and before we used to have Vision 2020, NST, SDGs, and others. So this evidence-based climate policy is the outcome of analyzed scientific data by the Ministry of Environment and its affiliated institutions, our academic institutions, and other development partners. From high-resolution climate models to vulnerability assessments, Science is helping us to design adaptive infrastructure, guide agricultural practices, and inform disaster preparedness strategies. Another good example is our green growth and climate resilience strategy. Tracing its background, in 2009, the country had terrific floods all over the country. Some people who were there at that time, you remember, REMA actually commissioned a plane to take pictures. That time, it was the first time we had floods in all corners of the country, from east to west, from north to south. From there, the government started thinking, how can we mitigate this? That's how they took the two decisions. Establishment of climate change department in REMA, which was not there, and also developing Rwanda Green Growth and Climate Resilience Strategy. But before taking that decision, we commissioned Stockholm Institute to conduct the first ever economic impact of climate change in Rwanda, which portrayed that climate change is costing at least 1% of our GDP. That time it was 1%. But the recent report is portraying, the climate and environment report is portraying that climate change is costing between 5 and 7% of our GDP annually. So after the floods all over the country, after commissioning that Stockholm Institute report, economic impact of climate change in Rwanda, after seeing that it is costing 1% of our GDP without taking into consideration seasonal floods, then the government of Rwanda said, here we need to take actions. That's how they took action of establishing the department and also developing the Green Growth and Climate Resilience Strategy, which was really a comprehensive and rigorous process. I remember before developing the GGCRS, we had what we call sectoral papers. We go to energy, we do the all analysis possible on energy. We go to agriculture, then after that we combined everything, we came up with our GGCRS. So this is portraying, I'm trying to link decision makers' initiatives or decisions which are taken by decision makers, but informed, not just decision because others are taking decision, but informed by the data, informed by evidence-based and the available science. So it was in that perspective indeed. We said we can't have a green growth and a climate resilience strategy which is just standalone. One of the enabling pillars of that strategy was to establish a financial resource vehicle, which was FONERWA, which is Rwanda Green Fund now. So that's how it was again. Rwanda Green Fund was established in 2012 after adopting the GGCRS in 2011. So it was on purpose that before implementing what is stipulated in terms of adaptation, in terms of building resilience from our strategy, we need to have a funding mechanism which can help different stakeholders to implement what they are supposed to implement. So indeed, one of the enabler was the strengthening science and research in that strategy. So that's few examples at national level. Then at international level, how Rwanda is using science and research to respond to its obligations through United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. As you all know, as a country, we have obligations, including submitting our nationally determined contributions every 5 years, which has the horizon of 10 years. But how do you develop an NDC which has adaptation commitment and also mitigation commitment? You can't achieve the level of submitting your contribution without assessing the vulnerability you have so that you can formulate adaptation measures related to your vulnerability. And you have also to conduct the greenhouse gases emissions inventory to know how much are you contributing, which sectors are contributing, which are the key category, which is the biggest contributor among the sectors you have, so that you can formulate and give priority in your measures to what you have clearly assessed. So we have submitted our NDC, the second version in 2020. Now we are working on the third version. But it's not static. We keep improving, and now we are busy working on our third version of our NDC. We are using all the data possible. But have we maximized our capacity to use the available data? Honestly, my response will be not at all. Why? We have been having various initiatives, various research which have been conducted in different institutions, but which are not connected or which are not available easily to inform decision makers. So this symposium, one of the areas we need to really work on, how do we build a sustainable and long-term partnership with academia and research institutions so that we can access publications easily. So through our green growth and climate resilience strategy, it was on purpose to include that Rwanda need to develop Rwanda Climate Change Portal. That's a policy orientation. We have developed it. And it was even costly to the government. But how many researchers here in the room are using that climate change portal to publish their findings, to publish their... Maybe it's because it's our weakness. We have not yet done our job to do awareness of that climate change portal and make sure that you know it. But when it started, it was on REMA website. But we requested the government to give it a separate and dedicated public domain. It's now a standalone portal for the country. we wanted it to be a gateway for all publications related to climate change in this country. Whether it is published by a government agency, whether it is published by an academia institution, whether it is published by a research institution, whether it is published by an NGO, as long as it is talking about data on climate change in this country, we need to use that platform. So our challenge, actually, to conclude my keynote speech, our challenge today is how do we maximize the platforms we have today. Then the second is how do we improve the partnership mechanisms do we have today. Is having different MOUs enough between government institutions and academia and research institutions? Is it having various excellence centers of excellence enough? Is it having annual symposia like this one enough? So let's all of us be our homework to think about how do we build a strong partnership so that all the data, all the assessment reports, all the findings can be availed and used. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves having our academia in that corner, just having topics which are not linked to the issues, to the real issues the country has. Why do we can use them to support, to do the analysis? We have been thinking about establishing a think tank, but a think tank which is very independent. Sometimes when we are in charge of something in the government or in the any other institutions, you have a tendency of believing that what you are doing is the best. But if you can have another eye, which can tell you, hey, here, please, go slowly. There is a bump ahead. That can be, but how do we forge the way forward together and offer that platform where we can have that independent think tank which can even inform decision makers? Said so, let us continue to invest in research, to trust the data, to act boldly, and to ensure that our future is not dictated by the forces of climate change, but shaped by the choices we make today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Director General and UNFCCC focal person, for the keynote address. I think the audience here, you get to know how the different interventions on the side of Rwanda has been done, but still we have a homework how to build a strong connection between climate research, decision making. He has highlighted that different intervention has been put in place, like the platform, the domain, the public domain where different researches need to be published. But how are you using those existing platforms? How are you connected ourselves, scientists? It's our homework, it is a takeaway from today, and we are sitting in this room to come up with a strong solution and a clear solution for that highlighted issue so that we can continue in ambitious way Rwanda has built. Now is the session of question of answers. We have two speakers, and I would like to invite the audience here to ask some burning questions. For the first round, we are going to take 3 questions. It's you are welcome with the questions, and while you are asking the questions, please kindly identify the key speaker that you are going, who is responsible for the question. It's up to you. Welcome for the questions. 3 rounds. The first one. Thank you. And I would like also to quickly inform you that after the questions and the answers, we'll be taking the group photo. After group photo, we go directly to coffee break. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Just to break the silence. Yeah. My question is for the first presenter, for Professor Bomba. I think, yes, we have seen temperature is rising. And in actual terms, we also saw there are extreme events here and there in Africa. We can mention from South Africa to maybe Western Africa, and floods, droughts, and even in some cases in Tanzania, for example, wildfires and all those things. But from his presentation, from your presentation, that these extreme events are not seen in the data. They are not there. That's actually what we are facing. And we did a lot of analysis on drought, incidence of drought, incidence of the data. So probably, is it because data problem, or is it because our methodology problem, or is it because these extreme events are very natural that happens over years without any change? I mean, we see the temperature is rising, but the extreme events are not very much from the data. So what could be the main explanation for that to happen? That's my question for him. Thank you very much, and thank you for the 2 presenters, very enlightening.
Do you need to answer the first question first? Okay.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. And then I have to take you through how IPCC, because I assume you are talking about the polygons we have to convey the regional information. So what IPCC doesn't do new research, okay? It gather all publications that exist, all right? For example, assessment report 7 probably will start from 2020 to the end of the assessment. And then we build a story with respect to the state of art of climate change using those publications, okay? Which means if the data exists and nobody take the data and write scientific publications published in a journal, those information will be missing in the IPCC report, okay? And that's the reason why at EMS we actually fill a lot of gaps. We have many publications recently dealing with droughts, dealing with heat waves, dealing with floodings, and we'll be having more to feed the assessment report 7. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question which it's 2 parts. So one is for the first presenter, Bamba. So it's about the attribution. You said that we have a gap in the attribution. data. So knowing when an event occurs, is it because of climate change? And I want to ask you what you think it will take to get us to be able to have the capacity to do this attribution to the events and attributing them to climate change. And I think a lot of it is around the statistics that are needed and the good data sets. And then the second part is for DDG Faustin. When we start having, I'm anticipating we're going to build that capacity to be able to do that attribution, how we can use that information to inform these documents we have, like the green growth strategy and NDCs, for example, because I see the attribution capacity as really a way to sort of pinpoint when events are occurring and that they are occurring because of climate change, and then what we could do about it. And I know it's a really challenging aspect, so I'm really curious about when we can get there, given that we have all these research centers in Rwanda and we are collecting lots of data, but then there's another step, which I don't think is insurmountable. I'd love to hear those responses.
Very much. Yeah, as a climate scientist, of course, we have the capacity to do attribution studies, but then we also have the capacity to do many other things, which means you will need to prioritize on what you do your research. So that's the thing. Because the attribution is like, you have an event that happened, okay, so is it natural variability? It is climate change. What are the contribution of climate change on that? So that's basically what you have to answer using multiple statistic tools, multiple machine learning models, and those kind of things. And then at the end of the day, what you have is, if it was not climate change, this is the event we would have. And does it resemble to the event we actually have? No. This event is much more intense. So you just determine, then quantify the contribution of climate change. So that's basically the way we do it. Currently at AIMS, we have a PhD student actually working on attributions. But we also have long-term attribution change where we can just deal with climate models with that, which is much easier. But an individual climate event attribution, and that will be very, very famous for the next IPCC report. And then we need to build those information right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Beth, for the question. Actually, I will build on the response of Prof. Bamba. How do we use the data in the reports like NDC and others, but without attributing in a long way? We have IPCC, which is giving different methodologies and definitions. That's how we have a definition on climate change, which is differ with climate variability. When you observe a constant change more than 20 years, then you can start saying this is climate change. But today it rains, tomorrow there is no rain, after tomorrow there is rain. That's variability, that's not climate change. So there is a methodology, there is definition we need to stick to, so that not everyone can wake up in the morning and say, okay, we have climate change. To say that you have climate change, as I said, we have observed the increase of 1.4 degrees Celsius since 1970. So, seeing that constant increase of mean temperature more than 20 years, then you can confirm. There are also other parameters. So it's not just because floods are here and there, then you say it's climate change. You need to have methodology, you need to have the reasoning and definition behind all the actions you are going to take as a country. That's why one of the obligations a country has is to conduct the National Climate Change Report every 4 years, and we submit it to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Why? We want to redefine again, we want to do the vulnerability assessment again and portray the scenarios we have. We want to do the GHG inventory again and show the status, because our development is not static. So the more we do those reports using the approved methodology by IPCC, that's how we can assure either at global level, even at national level, that we have climate change evidence, and we are using the data to inform the measures we are taking. Thank you.
Madam Chair, just a precision, because I just remember that everyone in the room is not a climate scientist. When we are talking about climate change, as climate scientists right now, when we say this is due to climate change or this is due to natural variability, we are talking about anthropogenic climate change. Climate change due to human activities. Because we have found that from 1850 till now, the changes we are having, the climate change we are having from pre-industrial until now are due to human activities, okay? So basically when we say climate change, right now we're talking about anthropogenic climate change, just to clarify, okay? So when you hear the word we saying climate change is the climate change we are causing, okay? Which is from 1850 till now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for the clarifications. Allow me to take another round of 2 questions. 3 questions, because I've seen that we have a lot of youth in the room. I would like to hear your voices. But first of all, let me allow the one who has the microphone to ask your question. Go ahead.
Thanks to remind me that I'm not quite counting as youth anymore. And absolutely, please, we want to hear from the next generation. My name is Martin Rukitsky. I'm the Managing Director of Climate Adaptation Research and Consulting Rwanda, which is an affiliate of a global network-based organization working on climate adaptation called PlanAdapt. My question is to DGD Faustin, and it almost comes out of a private sector kind of thinking. I think we've heard this morning many times that we all, I think everyone in the room has an ambition to use the latest and the best science to inform policy. When new strategies are developed and policy documents and policy making in the wider sense is done, how do you ensure, what is the actual mechanism that you ensure that the latest and the best science is actually being used? Is there kind of a certain mechanism, an accountability mechanism, or if I think of private sector processes, it would almost be a quality assurance process. So that would be the one question. And then we heard also the really recommendable effort to network and to put up a portal. We're all human beings and we're individuals, and we respond to incentives and reward mechanisms in our companies, in our institutions, in our ministries and so on. What do you think are the actual incentives for scientists to share, to network? And what are the incentives on the policy side of things that provides rewards in using the latest and the best science? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's true that we need to use the best science to inform decisions and to inform different policy documents we are developing. How do we maximize and how do we make sure that we are using the best science available? We are using maybe two ways to make sure that we are using the best science available. The first and foremost is to use the right resource persons who are doing those assessments. And you make sure that they are top scientists or top researchers or top consultants who are in that field, which means that they will have access to the best available science. Number two, all the policies and policy documents we are developing, the process is very inclusive. We make sure that when we are at stock taking level, there is a validation. When we are at draft presentation, there is a validation. When we are at final document, there is validation. Why do we spend that money to call upon all key stakeholders, private sector, civil society, government agencies, and others to those different validations? One, it's for preempting their ownership. Second, is to avail the best science and data they have in their dockets. When we have a scientist from Rwanda Agriculture Board in the room and a consultant presenting the impact of climate change on agriculture, and he's portraying ABCD, he needs to raise his hand and say, okay, at least the research we conducted last year portrayed this, which is in contradiction with what you are presenting there. So that's why we make it inclusive and make sure that everyone has a say. So those are the two ways, honestly, we use to make sure that we are using the best science available. Then the second question is on how do we give incentives to people to use the portal, to use to make sure that they publish their findings on the portal. Honestly, putting in place that platform itself is an incentive itself. We have been getting challenges of some of the reports which are being published in different corners of the world, portraying different data from Rwanda, but which are far from the reality. While we have research fraternity here, which are busy doing different assessments, different research, and they keep them in their either in their institutions, either in their network. But when a country has invested in establishing a platform like that one, a climate change portal, we wanted it to be like a gateway of all publications related to climate change, so that no one will claim that I used the wrong data because I don't have access to the data. So the first incentive itself is to have established that portal, and the fact that the government is giving the access to that portal. We have a team which is working on the portal. Some time back, actually, we had an initiative. That's why in my keynote address, I was somehow frustrated. Why are we not using the portal? We had an initiative and we took representatives of different academia and the research institutions away for a week to understand how portal is working, and we have even given the credentials with limited access depending to the function you are going to perform on that portal, but it doesn't work. So we need to see it as incentive first. When everyone will quote you, will quote the research you have conducted without even contacting you, but he will get your research from the portal. That itself, it's an incentive. But apart from that, as I said, we have also, again, established a financing mechanism. That's why Rwanda Green Fund has an innovation and something window, which is not above 300 USD, 300,000 USD. That was the thinking, that it's a grant, but specific for research and innovation. Then how do we use that one and feed the portal? It was somehow complementing each other. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, please allow me to just add a little bit on what DDG says.
Yes.
So what DDG says is very key, because he says always use a resource person who knows the field to make sure that the best available science is used. And that is very important, because most people in many meetings, even there is a WMO document, by the way, WMO is World Meteorological Organization, document who give us step-by-step how to use the best available science. But many countries, they use IPCC results, which is still fine, but is it tailored to your country? And that's a big question that you have to ask. Because see, the way we are doing the regional assessment, we don't think country-wise, we think regional, okay? So the other thing is, other countries, they use consultants, which is still fine. There are very good consultants, but as in all fields, you also have other consultants that just do a rapid assessment. Other results, what you will have is, and I witnessed this many times, contradictory information for the same area. Okay, and this is very, very, very bad. When different consultants, different organizations came in and they have contradictory information, which means you're going to build your strategies on contradictory information. So this organization builds strategies on increasing heat wave. These are the other one build strategies on decreasing heat wave. So you can see it's not really coherent. And yeah, so we use resource person that knows the field and that can tailor the information for your country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bamba. Allow me to also give the chance to the people online. We are not only in this room, but there are people joining online. There is a question from Kayumba Hijiro Francis. He is asking if MOE or REMA have been able to document or have database for climate science. How do we make sure during such gathering, targeted scientists are involved? This is her first question. He also asked how regulatory makes sure the scientists are aware of the said portal. Have they been able to find out how the portal not used? I think also you can respond on that question. The question is addressed on REMA and the ministry. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Kayumba, for the good question. We have a team in charge of environment and climate change research in REMA, but they mainly handle those research and assessments which are being conducted within the institution. We are now trying to link through the portal even with all the research which is happening in different corners in the academia, in the research institutions. But for the archive and continuity, when it comes for vulnerability assessment, when it comes to use the meteor data, we partner with the institution in charge of meteor, and they do the assessment. They provide what is supposed to be provided, which means that there is that consistency within the institution. When it comes for the reports, most of the reports we are developing are in series. And now we are about to publish the fourth national communication report, which means that we had the third, the second, and the initial. So all of those reports, we keep them through the departments and archives and other ways. But we have even them on our website and on our climate change portal, so that whoever who want for comparison purposes can access them. So that's the first question. The second is on the portal itself. How do we make sure that researchers knows about it? We have been engaging different academia and research institutions on this, but also emphasizing on this during this forum itself. We want even those who are not aware of that portal to know it from here and be our advocates and be our ambassador after here, and make sure that they are using the portal. And again, for the first question, there are so many assessments which are being conducted, but in some cases, people are trying to reinvent the wheel instead of maybe building on what have been developed in the first place. But we need to strengthen that collaboration I talked about, so that we can have platforms, incentives, and that linkage between policymakers and research and academia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is a youth now coming.
Thank you very much. My name is Sam Goga, and I am a team lead at Salter Foundation's Center for Climate Justice. As someone who has interacted recently and also in the past with the portal, I would like to thank REMA for such a great initiative, because it demonstrates the interdisciplinary approach to climate change challenges, and also how everyone can contribute in one way or another, depending on their disciplines and their ways and methodologies to contribute to finding not one but multiple solutions to the challenges that we are facing. My question comes from, again, from an interdisciplinary angle. I'm wondering how today in Rwanda, because recently the research used to position local knowledge and science as two opposing camps, but there is a mind shift where we're realizing that actually both can complement each other, but also can help in addressing knowledge gaps that exist today. So I wonder how, and my question is of course addressed to Mr. DDG Foster, how local knowledge is being used to complement scientific findings, and how the communities are being engaged in these discussions and conversations that relates to the struggles that they're going through, since they're the ones who are deeply impacted by climate change. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Local knowledge is very key, is very vital in whatever we do. It reminds me in 2012, 2013, we had a project on that. We gathered elders above 60 years all over the country. And we wanted to understand how in the past, before modernization, how they used to predict the rainfall, how they used to know it's time to for agriculture activities, it's time for not taking cows outside the or near the river, things like that. So we had the whole country meeting elders, and after that tour, REMA published a report on key findings on how climate change was perceived, on how when they were narrating the series of hunger, like Ruzagayura came this year, after that Gakweje came in this year, things like that. And the scientists were interpreting the frequency and connected it to various incidents we have proven scientifically, cyclones and others. So your point is very valid. We need to use the local knowledge as well to benchmark and make sure that what we are doing is also complementing on the local knowledge we have been using. And indeed, we need to make sure that comparing to that local knowledge we used to have, what we are embracing, is it adding value or not? Sometimes people, you can get a solution through the local knowledge, which you can't get using the modernized and modeling or whatever we can use in this era we are in now. So it's very paramount to use the local knowledge, and we need again to make sure that we don't undermine, especially when we are discussing, especially when we are busy developing a project, for instance. When you go on the ground and ask the local people who have been there, and if it is near the lake, you can ask them where the farthest flood from this lake in this area. He can come and show you in layer, it reached this point. But when you can use model, you can either go beyond that point or come before that point. If you use model and come for that point, it means that anything you are going to put there, it is going to flood. But if you combine the model and the information you get from that local person who have been there for 50 years, then you can calibrate and compare what you are doing and what solution you are going to provide. So that's what I can say on the local knowledge. It's something which is very, very pertinent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for...
Hello?
Thank you very much. Just I would like to add something on the ideas and the questions asked by our colleagues in the room. As Ministry of Environment and all ministries in our country, we cannot build strong policies, strategies, without having the evidences basically refer to the data provided by our researchers or our scientists. Yes, we know that many people here in the room, even they have different papers, reports. I can just provide some names here in the room who have more than 15 papers published in different journals. But we are thinking how just to have an opportunity to have access to these papers published, because we do not know where they are, but already they are there. And even to respond to the challenge provided by Bamba, where sometimes you receive reports that are contradictory, because some reports are saying this and other are reporting this, so sometimes you see the differences and even the mismatching of the findings. So the ministry's ambition just is to gather all these scientists, researchers, and other knowledgeable people who have capacity to just conduct different studies in the climate and even environment aspects, to make sure that the data and even the recommendations provided are informing our decision makers to what to do and all to the way forward. So this symposium is one of the solutions to put together these people and share their findings, and even avoiding all of these discrepancies in their reports, in their publications. So the other thing that I will just talk about is the platform that DDG has highlighted. To make sure that, yes, we appreciate the work done by our researchers, even if there are a lot to do. But how are we sure that at any time we are able to have access to this data, to these papers? We encourage these researchers just to put their papers, their reports on this portal, so that we can use in further studies, refer to the previous, that will help just the other people to refer to and even to provide the accurate information. This is an opportunity for us, not only this 2 days event, but also the future events. We need to bring on periodic basis, we need to bring all these researchers to share with us and to inform us what can be done in order to adjust the climate change impacts across the country. Not only in the country, but we compare our country with other countries, refer to the data provided. So we encourage different researchers to use this platform. And even well and good, I appreciate Meteo Rwanda for the hard work the team is doing to provide timely and accurate information related to weather and climate change in Rwanda. Thank you very much.